Hi, it's Darnell at Whale and Recipes, and today I'm going to be making whole wheat butter rolls. I'm going to be using a combination of cookers for that. I'm going to be using the Zojirushi Virtuoso Plus Breadmaker to make the initial dough. Then for the proofing and the baking, I'm going to use the Ninja Combi Multicooker oven and air fryer for that part. And so we'll see how things turn out. Let's get cooking right now. Alright, so I'm going to start putting the ingredients for the dough into the Zojirushi. I've got the pan in here, the loaf pan in here to make the dough, and I've got the agitators basically pointing in the same direction so that things will come out for a lump of dough as even as a lump of dough should. But if you're making bread, you always want to make them point in the same direction. But the first ingredient, and I want to point out, I'm using a recipe that is inspired by Zojirushi's butter roll recipe, but I'm doing a whole wheat version, so basically it's got a lot of similarities to theirs, but a little different because I'm changing some ingredients. But the first ingredient that's called for is 210 grams of milk. Now, I'm using powdered milk that I basically had to mix with water. In that case, you use like a cup of water and you mix it with 4 tablespoons of powdered milk. So I've mixed that up. And 210 grams is about 7.1 ounces or about 0.88 of a cup. So I'm going to pour most of this in and maybe just hold back what looks like a little less than an ounce of it, if I can visually gauge. I mean, maybe that's right. I don't know. I'm going to stop right there. I know I could have made it more exact. I could have used some of my other cups and measures to make it more exact, but I eyeballed it. Gonna stick with that. That's the first ingredient. The next ingredient is 1 large egg beaten. So just pouring that on in. And you do need to add these ingredients in the order that I'm adding them in. The next ingredient is 3 cups of whole wheat powder. This is finely ground whole wheat powder that I'm putting in there. And my next ingredient is a 1/2 cup of vital wheat gluten. I'm going to be adding that in kind of on the sides, around the edges of the dough here. And that'll help this whole wheat powder rise. Next ingredient is 3½ tablespoons of a granulated sweetener of your choice. I'm putting that in on the edges here. So use the one that you so choose. I don't use sugar usually, so, well, never. So I'm using a urethral monk fruit blend, although I often use like organic monk fruit extract powder. Since I'm not using a lot, I'm just using the urethral monk fruit blend for this one. And I've also used other ingredients like organic barley malt syrup and others. So use the one that best suits your needs. And that's the last of that 1/2 tablespoon. Next ingredient is 1 teaspoon of sea salt, putting that on the sides there. Next ingredient, I have 4 tablespoons of butter, and I chopped it up in small pieces so that it would soften a bit before I put it in here, because you want it to be softened up a little bit. Now I'm going to take a clean knife and I'm just going to make a little, kind of like a shallow well in the whole wheat flour so that I can put the yeast in that little shallow well there. You always put your yeast kind of in the middle there. Now the final ingredient is a teaspoon of yeast. You want to use, you know, since it's a bread machine, you can use like your bread machine yeast or rapid rise yeast. You know, use what you feel most comfortable with using for your needs, and that's what I use here. So I just use either like bread machine or rapid rise. Either one is what I use. Alright, so I got everything in now, so I'm going to go ahead and close up. And I'm not sure how well you can see the display, but for the course, I'm going down to course 11. So course 11 is dough setting. Tells me that my dough will be ready in a little less than 2 hours. Basically, 1 hour 50 minutes is how long it's going to take to make this dough. So I'm going to go ahead and hit start with that. And push it back a little bit because once it starts kneading things and moving things around, I don't want it to fall off the counter. But I'll bring you back in a while. Alright, so things got to the beep where you're supposed to like add fruit if you're going to make fruit in your dough or add some mix into your dough. And I'm noticing that the dough is way too clumpy, so I should have used more fluid. So I recommend you use about 1.25 cups of milk. I'm going to add about another 1/2 cup of milk to what I had in there earlier to try and get things to better mix. And you see it's kind of that milk powder, so some of the powder didn't mix too well, but Lord willing, the agar in there will get things mixed up better and we'll have some decent dough. But I'll bring you back when this is done. Okay, so the dough has finished and I just got it out of the bread machine there. So the added fluid did help it a bunch to come together the way it should. So I'm just getting the clump of dough out, putting it here on this prep area. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take and make 20 little balls. Turn this into 20 balls. Now, I initially did use too little fluid. I may have used a little too much vital wheat gluten, but we'll go with this anyway. So I'm trying to make, well, chop off 20 pieces here with my dough chopper. Alright, so I got 5, 10, I got 16, so a little under 20, but I'm going to just roll these into little balls, or big balls, dough balls here. Alright, so I've got them all rolled up into dough balls now, and so what you're supposed to do now is cover them for 20 minutes. So I'm just going to take paper towels, cover them for 20 minutes, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, so 20 minutes have passed, so I'm going to remove the paper towels here. I've got the Combi basket back there. I've got the crisper tray in there with some parchment paper on top of it. So I'll be putting things on top of that. But what I'm supposed to do now at this point is take these, kind of make it into kind of a cone shape so that it's like, I guess, smaller at the bottom and taller at the top. Then take the rolling pin, take these pseudo triangular shapes and just kind of press it out. But I'm sure you'll do a better job than me, the kid who never got an A in an art class, I don't think ever. But you just roll it out as a triangle shape. And after you roll it out with your rolling pin, then you can just take it from the upper end down to the lower end. Just kind of roll it up like a little piece of dough there, like that. I'm just going to stick it on parchment paper. I'm going to do the same for all of these until I get them all basically rolled out. Alright, so I'm able to fit 10 in. The other 6, I'm going to try and put those in the Ninja Flexbasket, which also has a proof and bake function, but they're probably going to get overcooked on top because the Flexbasket overcooks everything on the top. But I'll do those over there. You won't get to see me putting them in or any of that type of stuff. So you'll just have to trust and believe if you want that I did it in the Flexbasket, but that's what I'll do. Also, I forgot I need to spray these. Got a little water here. So you're supposed to spray them. So just spray them up, spritz there. So on in here. To the Combi. Turn it on. Go over to the Combi side. Go down to proof. Gonna do 95 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. So take time down to 30 minutes. Hit start. Let that run. We'll see how that goes, and I'll also show you how things perform in the Combi. I mean in the Flexbasket. This is the Combi. But how things perform for these that I'll put in the Ninja Flexbasket. Alright, so proofing time is up. And 30 minutes in the Ninja Combi, you see how these 6 turned out? they didn't grow at all. I mean, I'm seeing no growth. 30 minutes at 95 degrees. Whereas the ones in the Ninja Combi, same setting, we see some noticeable growth from those. So we see that the Ninja Combi does a better job of proofing than the Ninja Flexbasket, which was only put into use because we had too much to fit in the Combi. But what I need to do now is I need to get this crisper tray out so that I can start preheating for the baking. Basically, it's bake at 350 for 15 minutes. So I'll try and see if I can maybe slide this thing out or something easily. I guess I'll have to try and, yeah, get that like that there. Set that there for a moment. Guess I'm touching with what I got some glue on my hands from. I can sanitize the handle. But basically we're going to switch over to the cooking side. Go down and bake 350. And I'm going to do a regular bake, even though I'm a fan of Combi bake. I'm going to do a regular bake. Let it preheat. While it's preheating, going to get things covered with some, it's kind of like an egg wash. 1 egg and a cup of water mixed together. Just coat the tops of all these rolls with the egg wash coating. And once things are ready to go in for cooking, I'll put them on in there for cooking and get these into the flex basket and bake those over there. It doesn't need a preheat. But you can give me your thoughts on how the two cookers perform for proofing. I can tell you I'm pretty sure that when the bake is done, the flex basket stuff's going to be way more overcooked than the Combi, because the flex basket, it just overcooks things. And I'll probably need to let it run. Well, I'm not going to let it run more than 15 minutes, even though when it's running two sides at once it takes a little longer. I'm just going to do it for 15 anyway and see what comes out of it. I need to add more time than I will, but I think it should be okay. So once the preheat's done, I'll get this in here and I'll go ahead and start cooking these that are going into the flex basket now. And I'll bring you back when everything's all done. Alright, so all the baking's done. These are the ones from the Ninja Flex Basket. They actually are less overcooked on top than I expected. I've seen some things I've baked in it that were way overdone and will never be in videos, but usually it way overcooks. But it only, it cooked into a golden brown, maybe a little more. Not too bad. Let's see what the Ninja Combi has for us. Look inside of here real quick. Alright, so these are the ones from the Ninja Combi. So you see the Flex Basket, a bit more overcooked on the top than the Combi. For the same time, same cook method. And I want to mention the reason I'm not showing you both cookers side by side is because you can't run two of these high wattage cookers on the same basically circuit, and I'm not running a extension cord across my kitchen just for your viewing pleasure and having those types of issues. I'm not dealing with that, so you'll just have to take my word for it if you so choose. But getting one of these out, and I'm going to take one of the ones from the Flex Basket so you see the difference there in the two, and we'll do a quick taste test. Alright, so we see that the one from the Flex Basket, although it didn't grow much during the proofing phase, it did grow during the actual bake. It grew really big during the actual bake. Whereas the one from the Combi, I mean, they were kind of more bunched together, so they didn't have as much room to just really, really grow out as much as they might have, but they grew more during the proof phase than the bake phase. They didn't really seem to grow at all during the bake phase in the Ninja Combi. So that's interesting. But we'll go ahead, we'll thank God for these, and I'm going to taste the one from the Combi first. They're still kind of hot, so Lord willing I won't burn my mouth. Pretty good. Of course I could use some water, but we'll try this one too. Okay, so between the two, I prefer the ones from the Ninja Combi because they're not as crispy cooked on the outside. The ones from the Flexbasket, since they were cooked a little harder, a little more crispy on the exterior, a little more overcooked than you might want for your rolls. You know, you might want a lighter, or from trying both, I'm preferring the lighter touch of the Ninja Combi. And so basically both cookers can get it done, but you see the differences now. And so both can proof, both can bake. And so now you know how to make your own rolls from scratch. And so in the video description, because there's nothing in this video sponsored, nothing sponsored by any of the companies that made any of the products that I showed here. I'm separate from them. I don't have any connections, attachment, ties. They don't give me stuff. They don't sponsor me. None of that whatever is between me and them. I buy my stuff at the store myself. And I use what I choose to use for, you know, what I feel like I want to do. I don't want sponsorships, okay? But that's me. Anyway, in the video description, lots of ways to help the channel, such as my cookbook, merch, membership, donations. There's like buy me a coffee, YouTube memberships, and YouTube super chats or whatever they have, or you make donations that way if you want. But lots of ways to help the channel. Also a link to the Amazon shop where you pay the same price, help the channel. Also, you can find lots of recipes and things on my blog at superwaveovenrecipes.com. Again, that's superwaveovenrecipes.com. And so, with all of that said, if you did like the video, please give it a thumbs up, share the video with a friend, leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification icon, and good eating.